the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Wow! Good God, y'all! What is it good for? Absolutely!
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks, well, it's Thursday evening. You know what that means. It's time for the Jen and Rick Show. We are, of course, the cleanup crew over here on K98 Talk. You've already had an hour of Dr. A and Bell on our Bell River on Wake Up America Radio. Then we go JD and Stacy with Game On. And then, of course, we close out the night before we go into the late night programming later with Late Night in the Midlands. Of course, I am one half of the crew, so I do have Miss Jen with me. Good evening, Miss Jen. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How's everything going over there?
Meh, stuck in traffic. Hour drive took 3. I'm already on my 3rd beer, and I still want another one. No, not really. I have already finished one, though, which is rare for me. I usually drink about maybe one every couple of days. I guess it has been a bad day, because while we've been talking, I've already drank one. I'm kind of wishing I'd have brought another one over to the studio. Maybe it may have to sneak over to the fridge that's in the other room while we're on break later. All right, so anyway, got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Of course, we have the fact that the Dems have held the largest, most expensive sleepover ever, including catered meals. We have clips of a certain Democratic politician admitting that it was all fun and games until somebody lost their funding. No, I'm just kidding. Because it turns out it was, the same thing that they always yelled about with the Republicans. Oh, they're just trying to do fundraising. Well, guess what they did during this entire event? We also have a bit of an update on the Brexit and whether Britain will stay or go. So far, it looks like it's about a 50-50 split. Probably won't find anything out for at least any type of a good projection for probably at least a couple more hours, but we'll talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, we have in the EU, the place that Britain is currently deciding whether they're going to leave. They've apparently lost their minds. They've decided robots are people too, and we'll get into why they're doing that and why at least I think it's crazy. I haven't actually asked Jen what she thought, so I guess we will find out live on the air. And then, of course, there's all kinds of other things we can talk about in the news because, even when I prep a show, this stuff basically writes itself anymore, so you never know.
Exactly.
All right, so where you want to go first?
Well, let's start with the cute little slumber party that our favorite Democrats had last night on the House floor.
So, I had a thought about that today. I don't know if any of you have watched it yet, but there's this new show on, I believe it's CBS, called Brain Dead, and it centers around D.C. and politicians, and it's kind of an interesting show. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue watching it, but I'm going to keep trying for a little bit, only because it's got Tony Shalhoub in it. But this has to be one of those times where life is imitating art, because they really have gone brain dead in D.C., and the Democrats have proved it. just saying. Sorry, I'm going to let this play for a second. I kind of like this song. Okay, can't do too much, Cars. Anyway, so, just as if anybody hasn't watched the show yet, check it out. You'll understand why I played this song. Once you watch the first episode, you'll get it. But anyway, it's just crazy because, they're basically holding a slumber party. They're shouting people down. They're having catered meals. They're protesting weapons while they have their armed guards outside of the building. I don't understand the whole concept. And what scares me is the American public, for the most part, seems oblivious to the fact that this was all a stunt. I mean, honestly, and not to steal someone else's thunder who's in a group of ours, if these folks really wanted to do something about gun violence, they should be actually doing a sit-in somewhere where there's actual gun violence. Just saying.
Right. I mean, it was such a stunt because this is... A similar measure was already killed on the Senate floor. This was going nowhere because if it passes the House, if they vote on it and it goes to the Senate, it gets killed again. So it really was just, showboating. But I thought it was just laughable the way that they were trying to compare themselves to like other profound movements in our civil rights history. I was super disappointed in Representative John Lewis, who is by all means a civil rights icon, a hero for his participation in the 60s movement, where he was actually, considered one of the big six. There was the leadership was called the Big Six, and he was considered one of them at just, 23 years old for the civil rights movement. He marched in Selma. He started the Student Nonviolent Coordination Committee, and he had been arrested multiple times, had been beaten, bloodied, and whatever else, and went through all of that to now be sitting here amongst all of these kind of pampered ninnies, basically just having a temper tantrum for not just about gun violence, but actually about taking away civil rights and liberties. And that is the most astonishing thing of it for me, for people like John Lewis to have participated and kind of shamed their GOP colleagues over something that was absolutely not about guns, absolutely was not about gun violence or gun rights. It was about suspending due process, which is a civil rights and a fundamental right as laid out by our 5th and 14th Amendments, that they were just very willing to give up in the name of some sort of gun control, rah cheerleader movement.
I don't know. I mean, to me, the whole thing is just nuts. I think, honestly, and I looked for the audio, I couldn't find it. One of the scariest things for me about the entire thing as it's played out was when, I believe it was Louis Gohmert was actually on the floor, and he was trying to point out that they're angry at the wrong thing. This isn't something to do with inanimate objects. This has to do with radical Islam. And the funny thing is, all of these people that are afraid to even mention the word terror most of the time, one of them, and I actually heard some audio, and then I went back and tried to find it later and couldn't find a decent clip of it, was actually shouting him down while he's trying to get everyone's attention, be like, look, folks, this isn't about guns. This is about radical Islam. You're focused on the wrong thing. And someone starts shouting over and over again every time he says radical Islam, why do you want a terrorist to be able to get a gun? Why do you want a terrorist to be able to get a gun? Why do you want a terrorist to be able to get a gun? That's not even their argument. They don't even like to use the word terror. They have gone out of their way to try to change the fact that the guy in the Orlando shooting was actually a terrorist. They omitted any reference to Allah, ISIS, or terrorism or anything from that report when they first released it from the 911 tape, and then wound up having to put it back in later. So these same people that don't even want to admit that radical Islam is a problem are now trying to hijack the narrative of now the Republicans want terrorists to get guns.
Well, but see, this is just so typical of Democrats, right? Like they absolutely can. They just get to be hypocritical for whatever suits their whims and wills. It's just like the thing where they're like, well, if you're not a criminal, then you have nothing to worry about. But that's actually the argument that conservatives use for other things, and it's completely untrue when it comes to these lists because you don't have to have committed any crime to be put on them. So, yeah, every single person should be worried about suspending rights of citizens who end up on this list without notification, without judicial oversight of any kind. So it's completely different than say the drug testing laws and the things like that conservatives often support, and people go, oh, well, that's just an event. Well, if you don't do it, then it's not, you don't need to worry about it. Why are you crying about it? But they invoke it when they want to. And that's how they are about all this. So they can use terrorism when it suits them so that they can blame Republicans for supporting it by not supporting gun control. But they can't say it when it's actually someone who has gone and murdered 49 Americans in cold blood.
Well, I think, and again, going back to what I was talking about a second ago, there's something about that terrifies me, and it took me all day to figure out what it was, but I figured it out about halfway through the day. There has been something that's been running through my head for a while now, and it's the fact that if you really look at the vitriol on both sides, we are perilously close to the same type of attitudes that we had with each other right before the Civil War. And that whole shouting down incident of Louis Gohmert today, while it's not nearly as bad, it reminded me of something, and it happened in 1851. I don't know if most of our listeners would be aware of what that was, but Senator Charles Sumner was actually caned on the Senate well in 1851 because he had made a statement, and this was during the whole time frame when slavery was really starting to come to a head. The Whigs and the Democrats had really done nothing about it, so a lot of Democrats and other conservatives had gotten together and started forming the Republican Party and said, you guys have really done nothing about slavery, so we're going to. And then on the Senate floor, Charles Sumner made a statement of, some of you are still willingly sleeping with this whore known as slavery, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing it. Well, there was a senator from the South who took offense to that, summarily got up, went into the chamber, took his cane, and beat him nearly to death. It took him 3 years to recover to the point where he could actually go back onto the Senate floor, and he was never the same. There were no charges pressed. The guy who did it spent absolutely no time in jail, and I'm not necessarily trying to compare these two incidents, but I'm saying when you start seeing things like that start happening and you realize that we really don't have any regard for one another anymore, because as it stands, if it may, and it's nowhere more evident than D.C., because anymore, if you are not for someone or for someone's ideas, you're automatically against them. We are getting perilously close to a time when I think we may be looking at some other situation similar to the Civil War if something doesn't change. And the fact that we have no regard for one another anymore and no ability to voice an opinion without being completely shouted down, overridden, or put on a watch list, I don't see how we come back from any of this. And it's the same argument that I've been having with folks on Twitter for the last few weeks that are all like, well, I don't really care if I get put on a list because I'm not doing anything wrong. And I'm like, you don't understand, because once we give up some sort of a freedom, even if it's a freedom that to you seems like not much of anything, you don't understand how this works, obviously. But I don't know if you haven't been a student of history, and that's usually when they start, well, all of a sudden you're talking about Nazi Germany. I'm like, I never said anything about Nazi Germany. I said you're not a student of history, because once freedom is given up, whoever takes it, no matter how small, it never really comes back. And that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at a group of people that are willing to give up yet more of their freedom, all for the illusion of safety. And that's what this is. These lists are going to be nothing but an illusion of safety, because the simple fact of the matter is you're not going to be able to stop someone who is willing to break the law from being able to get a gun, because they don't care if it's illegal for them to get it.
Well, and I guess what I also don't understand is that, well, I mean, I understand it. It's just kind of unbelievable, is that they sit here and they call, anybody, Republicans, conservatives, bigots. They're so afraid of Muslim backlash, of there being a backlash against Muslims. The moderate Muslims, they want to protect them. That was part of, the spiel with Lynch the other day. And we were immediately lectured right after Orlando, that Muslims are peaceful people and don't take it out on them. And remember, Christians are bad too. All of that. Yet, if this was a Republican measure to counter, terrorism, like with the Patriot Act, if it was GOP introduced legislation to limit due process, put them on these lists, not allow them to fly, not allow them to get guns, and who knows what other rights that leads to restricting as well, they would be crying racist, because a large part of these lists is comprised of Muslims and otherwise immigrants of Middle Eastern descent that have not committed something but have had some iffy relations, contacts, and have been put on these lists. And so who's the racist? They would certainly be calling us racist and trying to limit Muslim American rights. We need to call them out on that. Say that they are actively working against Americans, and not just Americans, Muslims.
But I guess the question is, why won't we do that? And I say we, including everybody, not just me and you.
Right. I don't know. It's like we were talking about on Tuesday. I mean, they hit hard and they hit fast, and they say things as quickly as they can and as often as they can, so that people just can't help but think that must be the truth. And conservative media, conservative politicians, whatever, it seems like there's not enough time to respond, and there's not enough coverage even when we do. We've gained a lot of traction with our own media and getting covered on major networks. It's really time to start really pounding them where it hurts, and really getting after them for all of their hypocrisies, their inconsistencies, and their outright disdain for our Constitution and the how it protects our American people. Someone today wrote a piece for the Misfit Politics about guns, and she vehemently hates guns. She's one of these conservatives that she doesn't want it around. She doesn't want to see one. She doesn't want to shoot one. And she makes a great point, though, that even with all of that, you have to either know, accept that as a right and know that it comes with responsibilities and consequences, or determine that it doesn't deserve to be a right altogether. They need to put up or shut up. And they're not willing to do that. And she also makes the point that, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is inherently stronger because of the right to bear arms. And without it would be severely lacking, weakened, and very much less protective of American citizens.
All right, so this moment brought to you just to prove that I'm actually paying attention in chat. You're welcome, Slick.
I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. You come and go.
It's a good thing he's in Texas. He's going to kill me. All right, so anyway, I don't know, the whole thing, and actually, you brought up a couple of good points, and I think this clip actually sums up most of those points really, really well, because this really is just a game, and we actually have a clip of a congressman that pretty much on CNN admitted it was just that and got called out by the reporters. So let's give that a listen while Slick goes to look for some brain bleach.
If Speaker Ryan doesn't want the Democratic committee to be politicking on this issue, he has to schedule a vote. That's the solution. They've already had votes in the Senate. The way to cut this process short and to return to regular order is to vote.
My entire panel is perplexed by this.
Congressman, you just said it was politicking.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Congressman Sherman.
I don't find that to be a dirty word. I think the effort of mobilizing the American people to demand a vote on this issue, if you, in most countries, that's called politics.
But that's different.
And only in the United States do some attribute that to something negative.
Well,
Right, but with all due respect, as I think we're all a little bit perplexed, Congressman, is a couple things. One, is it unseemly to be raising money off of an issue that is, A, so important, but A, very controversial, and quite frankly,
using the emotion of what happened in Orlando, Florida,
right? Where you saw 49 people killed. It's just, there's one thing to send out and ask for people to call into the switchboard, but is it okay to be raising money?
And mind you, as we ask you these questions and you're answering them, if we can get the pictures of the House floor, people are holding up pictures of the victims from Orlando, Florida. You're using it as the impetus for this bill, and so the question is, as he said, does it appear unseemly?
Don.
All right, so that's where the clip that we found of that actually stopped. All I have to say is big surprise. Democratic congressman who first admitted it was politicking and then said he really doesn't find that to be a dirty word. I'm surprised he actually admitted it so readily, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me that he feels that way.
No, this is... emails for fundraising efforts in the middle of the sit-in, that they were using it, obviously to make money and further the agenda. I didn't have anything to really respond to it other than just roll my eyes and shrug my shoulders, because of course they were. Of course they're exploiting it. Of course they're taking advantage of it in this manner. And Brad Sherman, by the way, is the man who was calling out Louis Gohmert. He is the same guy. He was standing up there. He had the microphone and he was saying various things, and then Gohmert, I guess, had said something from the audience, and he was like, this man is afraid to vote and afraid to debate. And Gohmert didn't take the bait right away, but then they started chanting, like, no fly, no buy, and then Sherman again said, like, pointed at him and said, this man's afraid to debate. So that's when Gohmert charged the floor and said, no, I'm not. Radical Islam killed these poor people, and basically you're taking away from that. So he's not exactly what I would call a genuine, or I don't know, maybe not even really a nice guy, this Brad Sherman. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he's completely shallow when it comes to politicking.
I guess the thing and honestly, I really hadn't been paying that much attention to it other than to point and laugh at all the pictures of them, having the catered food and all the little jokes about the struggle is real because we have Democrats sitting in on the House floor, blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize they were holding up pictures of the victims in Orlando. Yes,
they had quite a few poster boards with the pictures put on them. Yep.
Do you realize what would have happened if the shoe was on the other foot and a bunch of Republican congressmen were sitting on the House floor holding up pictures of dead people?
Yep. Oh, it would be insane. They would lose their ever-loving minds if anything like this went down on the Republican side. And they're just dishonest about it too. They're like, oh, and he turned the cameras off and turned the that is normal. This is not like he did something to censor them. That Paul Ryan was just like, oh, screw you. It's part of the House leadership's responsibility. And they're usually, when they go into something like this, they don't have the cameras on. So it was not. They're just trying to paint this in any way that they can to make Republicans seem as petty and heartless and, overall just insensitive as possible, when really the Democrats were just behaving like whiny little brats. For literally nothing.
So never mind the fact that when Republicans were in the minority and they tried to do something to bring attention to an issue similar to this, the Democrats turned off the lights and went home.
Hello? Not only did they turn the lights off, they turned off the air conditioning.
Well, yeah, the air conditioning too. They turned off the lights.
And so
they turned off the air
Nancy
conditioner.
Pelosi is complaining today that it was freezing in there and they had to wear sweaters because it was so cold. I'm like, are you kidding? Oh my gosh, DC was like, the coldest it was in DC was 69 or 70 degrees yesterday. So I know it didn't drop below that. Get real.
Well, she is like 170. She's probably got really thin skin.
Yeah, she's old.
I mean, dude, my granddad's like 94. He spends his whole life now in sweats. It could be like 100 degrees, and he's like, I need another pair of sweats. Like,
I know. It's so sad and weird.
But yeah, so anyway, did we really have to mention Nancy Pelosi though? I mean,
sorry,
we were having such a good show, and then we had to actually mention her. I mean, ugh.
He looks like a shriveled up Muppet.
Beaker hates you now. You know that, right?
Oh, but only the ugly Muppets.
I'm just kidding because you mentioned Muppet. I'm trying to get somebody. I'm trying to get somebody mad at you because now Slick is silently plotting my death and telling me that it's a good thing I'm in Oklahoma. But that's okay. It was worth it.
Oh man. Well, Dems be cray. That's all I got to say.
All right, well, on that note, folks, believe it or not, we're already to the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take a really quick break. When we come back, we still have some interesting stories. We'll talk a little bit about the whole Brexit situation, maybe get JR's take on it, see if we have any updated information when we come back. And then, of course, the bit of fun for the evening. The EU has completely lost its mind and decided that it wants to consider robots as people. So we'll talk about that when we come back, too. All right, so we're going to pay some bills. This is the Generic Show. Back with you in a few.
I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repair.
Turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is the Jen and Rick Show. Got some folks hanging out in the chat room. Just want to say good evening and hello to Miss Tina and Mr. Slick and a few other folks that may or may not be in there. Hadn't looked to see if anybody else had popped in yet. All right, and as promised, we're going to change into some international stories because I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of talking American politics, so I thought these would be a nice change of pace. I think if it's all right with you, I think the next one I'd kind of like to talk about a little bit is the whole will Britain leave or will they not leave? Hadn't really had much of a chance to talk to you about that. Do you really know anything about it? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah. Well, first off, yes, they should leave. 100%. No doubt in my mind.
I'm for the whole EU disbanding, but that's just me.
Yeah. There's a few things why, to me, it should be important. And of course, you know, they think in a totally different way than we do. Though there are more similarities, I feel like, with the UK than there are to other parts of Europe with the, you know, culture. But just number one, being able to be a sovereign nation again. I mean, the EU really ties the hands behind their backs, and the UK enjoys a few kind of freedoms, which was part of when they agreed to become a part of the European Union, that were stipulations for them joining. So they do, you know, enjoy a few freedoms that some of the other countries don't get. But in general, there are a lot of things that are just kind of crazy about this. Like the EU there are certain topics, certain kinds of things that the EU gets to regulate, which means that their rules override national laws. That is dumbfounding to me. For instance, like competition, like competitive policy, like agriculture, copyright and patent laws. There's a dozen types of industries that the EU can override anything the nation does. And that, you know, doesn't make good for anyone. There are people that estimate that being a part of the EU costs the British economy as much as $880 million a week. A week. It's probably overinstated, but still, even if it's only $500 million, that's pretty crazy. And you know, the EU wants, part of the reason that the UK needs to go is because the EU, in order to kind of continue. By the way, I lived in Spain. Disclaimer. So that's part of where I kind of come into the whole. I have a certain kind of personal knowledge of some of the stuff there. Not crazy, but I mean, you know, I have lived in Europe. So one of the things that's going to happen in order to keep floating countries like Greece and Spain in particular is that there's going to have to be a deeper fiscal and political integration in the entire Eurozone in order for the EU to really work properly and to be able to distribute kind of a common welfare, have a common tax system. And the UK is not likely to give in to more fiscal integration. They don't even, there was already the, you know, combated issue of the euro. So they basically would have to get deeper involved, be more open to losing, you know, sovereignty and turning it over to the EU. And I just don't really see that happening on a grand scale. So they just don't really belong anymore. They never really belonged in the first place. And I think it would be in their best interest in the long run to get out. But the elitists aren't gonna think that way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the whole thing with it, with everything that is going on with them is, you're right, it's getting to the point now where the EU does. I mean, when it first came together, it was more of a conglomeration. It was kind of, they took a, no other way to put it, bastardized model of how we run things over here, and decided that the countries that are within the EU would kind of be treated more like the states, and the EU government would kind of be the centralized head of everything. But now it's no longer as much of an amalgamation as more as it is now. They want everything to basically be homogenized and pasteurized. Everybody's got to be exactly the same. Everybody's got to pay their fair share, and the whole key with that is, I don't know very many Brits that are apt to being told they have to be less British and fall in line with everybody else. I mean, we may have went to war with these folks once, but it wasn't because they weren't independent, strong-willed people. It was because we disagreed with them on some key issues, and that's why at some point they actually stopped becoming our enemies and became our allies. But at this point, we do have a bit of an update. So, right now, most of Great Britain is asking themselves this question.
Darling, you got to let me know. Should I stay or should I go?
And the answer to that question so far, the most recent update was about 10 minutes ago. It has shifted, because when I looked earlier this evening, it was 51 to about 48 in favor of staying. That has now shifted to 51.1 leave, 48.9% stay. So still too close to call, but Brexit actually seems like the Brexit is real, yo. It's a good possibility they may be leaving. Just saying.
This is so crazy, actually. It's really neat to kind of be watching, and I've been trying to pay attention, following various people that are, in Britain on Twitter. And this is... It would be monumental. It really would, because like we were talking about earlier about once you give up a freedom, it's rarely do you ever get it back. That's kind of what this would be for the UK, is they gave up their sovereignty and their freedoms to the EU, basically. And I know they still have their basic freedoms. I'm not trying to be over dramatic about that. But as far as their nation goes, they kind of turn stuff over to the EU, and this would be taking it back. And I just am kind of shocked that the way it's been reported, but of course, media is biased. It's been reported that it was going to be, hugely defeated by Remain. And it seems to be that it's a little bit more neck and neck than what they ever thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's still one of those things where it's too close to call, so you never know when the final votes come in. It may swing back the other direction. But I did notice, like I said, when I looked right before the show started, it was about 2 points the other way. So just in the time that we've done the show, or been doing the show, it seems like it has actually taken a swing in the other direction. And it wouldn't surprise me if Britain actually left. I hate to go all prophetic and stuff, but if you read Revelation, there comes a time when a few of the countries that are currently in the EU are probably going to be leaving before everything goes crazy. And I can't say how I know this, but I have friends in certain places that have jobs they can't really talk about. And there are parts of the world that are going completely nuts and nobody's talking about it in the news. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, one other thing that I think has kind of been left out of the conversation quite a bit is a large factor that I'm seeing amongst, like I was saying, the elites are typically, and a lot of the let's just leave it at elitists. There's a lot of different ways to describe them, but the elites are in favor of remaining, of course. Kind of view it as like our Dems wanting to keep ensuring various welfare programs, wanting to be involved in the UN, wanting to allow for open immigration, things like that. This is kind of a bigger deal than what people are letting on, is the immigration factor. Because with the EU, it basically says that people can move, travel, get jobs anywhere within the Eurozone. And that has come to be a pretty big problem for countries that are more desirable to live in and have higher quality of life and pay better, like the UK. So they were seeing an influx of lower skilled, often uneducated, and previously immigrated to, like, say they'd immigrated to Germany from a Middle Eastern country, and then going from there, once they're in and they're set, then they can go on to Great Britain. And that has been more of a factor with some of these, I guess, regular folk, like in the rural areas, than it was with, than it is for the politicians, in office. I mean, they're thinking about these things in a similar way that we are, where we just don't like that fluidity of our borders.
No, very, very true. Sorry, actually, I got an update. One of our sponsors is actually wanting me to mention something. Black Wolf Editorial Services, you guys may recognize them from one of the spots that we run. They've actually been offering a giveaway, but we had been so busy we hadn't really been able to talk about it. So they've extended it for a few days just to make sure that everybody gets a chance to take a look at it if they want to. At this point, they are actually giving away 2 free critique packages. It's a free critique of up to 5,000 words, which is basically either an article, publication of some kind. Free critique up to 2,500 words. To enter, all you have to do is head on over to, looks like Rafflecopter, never heard of it, and enter Nice and Simple. The competition now runs until midnight, the 25th of June, 2016, Eastern Standard Time. That's Saturday, folks. Any longer wouldn't be fair to those who have already entered. You can also access the competition from a Facebook page, and if you want to actually go check that out, you can actually find the information at blackwolfeditorial.com. There's actually a giveaway tab up there, so you can kind of look everything over, read through it all. Just wanted to make sure that I at least mentioned that once, because it's coming to a close here pretty quickly, and I was reminded this evening by Jess that we definitely needed to make sure we got that out there. So sorry to break into the show and actually have a bit of a commercial, but I thought it was kind of important. Okay, so anyway, then I was reading the other thing. I guess she sent me a message like 2 hours ago. Can you please make sure that you give some sort of a Brexit update on your show? I'm like, did I not already tell you I was going to do that? But yeah, we did that, so I guess we're good.
We are good.
Okay, so believe it or not, we're already I guess not completely out of time. We got about 10 minutes left, but we got at least one story that I think may burn up a few minutes. So at this point, we have, and to me, this is probably a glaring reason why the folks in Great Britain are like, what did we get ourselves into, and how quickly can we find the exit? Okay, so believe it or not, the European Union has decided robots are people too. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they in their mind already think robots are a lot like this. I don't know.
What are the 3 laws of robotics?
Number 1, a robot shall not harm a human being, or allow a human being to come to harm. Number 2, a robot shall obey any orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law.
Okay, so anybody who's wondering, that was actually just a robotic rendition of Asimov's 3 laws, which, while an existing actual 3 laws, those, if you talk to most robotic scientists, that's more of like for the use of like fiction writers and stuff to give them kind of a framework. Because if you'll notice, a lot of the fiction work about robots leads to them breaking at least one of those, if not all 3 of the laws by the time it's all said and done. But, I guess the European Union already thinks that robots are a lot like that. Most of them, honestly, are not. They're pretty well kind of just little automated machines that repeat the same tasks over and over again. But the issue is more and more factories and other jobs are finding ways to automate. Folks are losing their tax revenue. So, big surprise, the European Union finally decides to just pull this little rabbit out of that and says, hey, what if we decided to call robots electronic people? Then we could force the owners to pay Social Security tax on machines that will break down and be replaced, or what? I mean,
so it's important to note that that Social Security, as they call it in the EU, is a little bit different than ours. So it includes healthcare, unemployment pay, maternity pay, basically just a bunch of taxes all lumped into one. So it's not just the same as like retirement, though that is part of the part of the savings aspect of it that comes into play. But it's crazy because basically they're trying to say that people should have to, that companies should have to pay more simply for using robots, because what the end goal here is not only to create more tax revenue, but to keep jobs available for people, even if they are less efficient at it than the machinery, such as these robots and the jobs that they can do in the amount of time they can do them in.
No, and exactly. But it just astounds me that we're actually talking about basically giving retirement benefits and healthcare to machines, all in the guise of making up for the fact that those machines are costing people jobs, so they don't have as many people paying into it. So because of the way the system is designed, they're going to hold the owners of the companies accountable and make them pay for things that these machines are technically never going to use.
Which, by the way, it maybe could make even just a tiny bit of sense if that money could be used like it would be used for a regular human being to repair parts or to replace the robot when something else, when it finally comes to the end of its useful life. But it doesn't. That it wouldn't be allowed for any of that. It's simply just paying more for having machines doing the work instead of people.
And I mean, if you think about it, what they're looking at is basically for every person who's lost their job to a robot, now that company that's using the robot is going to be paying for their health care. Who there?
Yep.
Somebody is calling the show. I don't know who that is. Hello, caller. You're on with Jen and Rick.
Hey, Rick. How you doing?
I should have known it was you. Hey, Jess. What's up?
I just want to know if you saw my note to do a Brexit update on the Brexit vote.
Obviously proves you haven't been listening because we've been talking about it for about the last 10 minutes. But yes.
No, I'm not listening. I'm in the middle of shopping, so I was going to catch it on the download.
I'm just giving you grief. But yeah, we actually were just talking about it. Last tally from about 20 minutes ago, it's actually flipped. And last time I looked, it was at 51% leave, about 48% stay. So, and when I looked at it right before the show, it seemed like it was about 2-3 points in the other direction. So as the late night tallies are coming in, it seems like they may be deciding to leave.
Yeah, it keeps flipping back and forth, but it's definitely going to be a close one.
Well, it's definitely a lot closer than anybody thought when this whole thing broke. Everybody was saying, they're never going to leave. It's not even going to be a close vote, blah, 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 blah.
Sorry to interrupt the show with Jen, but, hey.
Meh.
That's all right.
I wouldn't have a call-in number if I didn't want it to be used.
What's going to happen around K98, do you?
Never know. Always on my toes.
Never a dull moment around here.
So... All right, well, I will let you two get back to whatever topic you were discussing before I so really butt in towards the end of your show. Because I just promised anyone listening to my show that I'd make sure you did an update on it. So,
all right, not a problem.
Got you covered.
Awesome. You guys have an awesome night.
Bye.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
You too.
All right, so now back to our regularly scheduled program. And we were making fun of the EU for wanting to make robots people. I could see it if they were like, anybody remember the Jetsons with the robot maid?
Gosh, when are we getting that?
If we had robots like that, I could understand the robots are people too movement. I mean, they had the whole thing on Star Trek. I mean, Data was an android who was going to be taken apart and studied by Starfleet, and Captain Picard basically became his advocate and proved to a Judge Advocate General that Data, in his own way, was a sentient being and therefore shouldn't be taken apart, disassembled, poked, and prodded, and studied like a machine. So, I mean, if we had robots like those, I could maybe understand the argument, but we don't. We have machines that have rudimentary thought processes and follow programs from point A to point B. And while I understand why they're doing what they're doing, because their system won't survive if they don't start making the companies that are hiring or bringing. I said hiring. See, they've got me doing it now already. that are bringing in all of these machines. If they don't find a way to recoup the losses from all those people that are losing their jobs, their systems for their social programs won't survive. So now, especially if Great Britain leaves, their social programs probably will not survive. Great Britain happens to be one of their biggest financial supporters, whether they want to be or not, which I think is another reason why they're looking at leaving. But yeah, so anyway, I digress. Needless to say, no matter what the EU tells you, robots are not yet people.
They are not people, and a company should not have to pay more in taxes just for using machinery. That's ridiculous. It's so beyond, it's just those Europeans, in which our wonderful leftists would like to emulate. No, thank you.
I mean, I could almost understand it if it wasn't being guised as something so stupid. I mean, if you legitimately want to charge a company more taxes for using robots to make up for the revenue that you're losing from the people that no longer have jobs, then find a way to do it without making yourself sound retarded.
Yeah, I mean, it just really, this is not the way to go about it at all. And in fact, all it's doing is discouraging. It's going to raise consumer prices, which is going to hurt regular people. And it's going to discourage business in general. So, no bueno.
No, I mean, really. And, actually, just to kind of touch on this a little bit, there's a bit in here where it actually talks about the main reason the government over there is using for this. And one of the people quoted in the article, someone by the last name of Schwarzkopf, says there was no proven correlation between increasing robot density and unemployment, pointing out that the number of employees in the German automotive industry rose by 13% between 2010 and 2015, while industrial robot stock in the industry rose 17% in the same period. So, for all of the noise that they're making that the robots are costing people jobs, it seems to me that the employment is still on the upswing. So it just makes you wonder, what are they really want? I mean, if those numbers are true, and it's not really an issue with less people are working, so now they're trying to make up revenue, what are they really trying to do?
Yeah. I don't know. Hey, earlier I said Dems be cray. I'm going to end tonight by saying Europeans be cray, because they are. I love them, and I love their history and their food and their awesome, everything. I love Europe, but it's a whole lot of cray going on over there.
Oh, no. Slick found out there's a call-in number. Damn you, Jess. Yes, Slick, there's a call-in number. No, I'm not telling you what it is. No, I'm just playing. I'll tell you. Actually, there are two numbers. If you want to call in as like a caller so that we can track where the calls come in, the number you can call is 608. Hang on. I don't give it out that often. Let's see. 408-681-8255. That's it. It actually correlates to 681 talk, area code 408 instead of 405. Then we have another number that we give out to the guests. Yes, like I just said that like 2 minutes ago. Is there a delay tonight? They are really trying to take all the money. All right, folks, we're about out of time. So as we wrap up the night, as we always do, want to give a chance for First Jen to let folks know where she is should they choose to interact with her when she's not on the air with me.
Yes, I am on Twitter most always at J Homestead. You can find me on Facebook, JR Homestead. And then I definitely want to plug Misfit Politics tonight. Go to misfitpolitics.weebly.com and check out that piece I was talking about earlier, Propose an Amendment or Move On by Alexandra F. Baldwin. It's really good.
All right, and I, of course, am Rick. I do America Off the Rails Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on K98 Talk, also on AMFM247.com, SHR Media, and Friday Drive Time on WNJC 1360 AM out of Philadelphia. You can interact with me should you choose to do so on Twitter. It's the best place to find me, AOTR_host. If you're old school, maybe you don't like social media, you are welcome to shoot me an email. Easiest one to keep up with for the moment is rick@k98talk.org. You can shoot me one over there anytime you like. And, of course, I am always here somewhere, so I almost went into JD's routine, but I don't want to steal it. Besides, I don't spend much time in alleyways or bar stools, so... All right, so anyway, at this point, folks, we are out of time. I want to thank those that were listening live and thank Jess for calling in, and I will be back with you tomorrow night to round out the week. Thank God tomorrow is Friday. And yes. Miss Jen, I hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to having you on there with me again on Tuesday, and hopefully we can find some more about those topics that we were talking about on the break so we can actually... have some stuff planned out for once, because that seemed to work out pretty well today.
I don't know what you're talking about. Prep work.
I know, right? All right. We're out, folks. Have a great night.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to